Hello, this is a podcast addressing the following question. Why did the USA and USSR become rivals in the period between 1945 to 1950? Now, the inert rivalry between the United States of America and the Soviet Union has become a widespread stereotype of the two powers. Now, this, of course, is unsurprising. Their ideologies were diametrically opposed. One could almost literally turn one of the ideologies on its head and arrive at the other. First and foremost, it is crucial to point out that the guiding question is somewhat misleading, as it carries the underlying assumption that the USA and the USSR were somehow friends, whose relationship suddenly turned sour in 1945. In actuality, the origin of this rivalry can be traced back to the Russian Civil War that ensued after Lenin and the Bolsheviks took power in 1917. As part of Lenin's doctrine of bread, land, peace, Russia pulled out of the First World War. The Allies were not happy about this. They wanted Russia back on their side and fighting against Germany and Austria-Hungary. The United States, among other Allied nations, sent troops to intervene in the Russian Civil War, fighting alongside the White armies against the Communist Red Army. What did that translate to from the Soviet point of view? That's right, the evil capitalist USA invading Russian soil and waging war against the communist government. Now, the two powers did form an alliance during World War II, fighting alongside the likes of France and Britain against Germany and Japan. This alliance was obviously based on the common threat that Hitler and the Nazis posed to all other European powers, with their imperialistic ambitions and initiation of the Blitzkrieg, and Japan's attack on Pearl Harbor. Not any form of trust, friendship, or even respect for one another, as far as the United States or the Soviet Union were concerned. This is not, of course, to say that immediate causes are entirely irrelevant. The personalities of Truman and Stalin, for example, is a significant factor to take into consideration. Truman was born and raised as a typical patriotic American. He put his utmost faith in two things: democracy and Christianity. The Soviet government was a one-party dictatorship that abolished and condemned any form of religion and promoted atheism. In other words, Truman's worst nightmare. Needless to say, he was fundamentally opposed to anything and everything the USSR stood for. Stalin, on the other hand, grew up only to know the tyranny of capitalism and religion. He was born to a poor Georgian family and reaped the oppression of the Tsar's capitalist Christian regime, just as all the peasants did. And at the time, peasants made up over 80% of the Russian population. Communism was seen as a redemption, a cure. It is only natural that the U.S. government would consequently be seen as an evil capitalist religious regime, just like the Tsars. That being said, these personality traits of Truman and Stalin are direct results of the ideological rivalry between capitalism and communism, between the USA and the Soviet Union, that has always existed. So, why did the USA and USSR become rivals in the period between 1945 and 1950? Well, they didn't become rivals in the period between 1945 and 1950. They had always been rivals since Russia went communist in 1917. They later formed a shaky alliance on the basis of a common short-term agenda during World War II, after which they naturally returned to being enemies, as the common adversary, the Nazis, had been eliminated, and with them, any necessity for any form of cooperation whatsoever between the United States and the Soviet Union. Thank you for listening.